So, guys, what's going on?
What's up?
Christian, it's my first time meeting you. Blake, obviously, it's good to have you
Second
back
time.
and be talking and stuff.
Yeah.
Do what?
Second time meeting each other.
Second time.
No, I'm kidding. That was a bad joke.
Oh, okay. All right. I was like, oh, did you bring him here? And I didn't remember meeting.
Save that
Anyways.
for the blooper reel as well.
Yeah, put that in.
So, Blake, we've talked extensively on this podcast about your career and all the things that you have going on, and I'd love to catch back up and kind of see what you've had going on this month. But being the first time I've met you, I have absolutely no idea who you are, your relationship with Blake, what you do for a living, any of that. So I guess we'll kind of get into that a little bit.
Well, I wanted to. So we chatted a week ago, and I wanted to have you on here because you're in real estate, right? I want you to go through kind of what your story is, but you've recently kind of expanded your real estate portfolio and knowledge and kind of what you're diving into. And I love the action that you're taking, right? And that's something that Alex and I talk about a lot is you heard the phrase knowledge is power, right? But knowledge without action, in my opinion, is not power, right? You've got to have the knowledge, but you've also got to implement it and have some action around that, and you're doing that, right? And that's the hardest step, in my opinion, for someone to take is to take action. So you're doing it. So I love it. So I wanted to have you on to really talk about what that meant for you, what kind of knowledge you had going into taking that action and then doing it, and not necessarily only in the real estate investment world, but also pulling the trigger on jumping into real estate a handful of years ago. So with that intro.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I guess thanks for having me. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So I guess I'll give a little elevator speech on myself. So I'm from Moody, graduated from Moody High School. As soon as I got I'll make it real quick. As soon as I got out of high school, didn't really know what I was going to do. All my friends, they were going to college. I didn't really enjoy school very much. I was like, I don't really know that that's the route that I want to go. So with that being said, I got an interview at a car lot on Highway 11 in Trussville. Thought I was going to be detailing cars. They were like, hey, we want to try you out in sales. So that kind of is what opened the door to the whole sales side of things. Petrified. I literally told myself, I was like, not a chance. Not going to happen. Not going to work. Trained me up for a couple of weeks. Go out on the lot. Sell 2 cars first day. They let me out on the lot. So I was like, I'm on the way home. I'm like, I was 18. I was like, man.
Really? 18?
18, I said to myself,
Wow.
I just moved $50,000 worth of product. At 18 years old, I'm like, this is nice.
Yeah, that's
What
cool.
what kind of money is associated with that for you? Like, is it all commission?
So every car lot's different. Where I was, how it worked is if you sold under 10.5 cars, you get 25% of the gross commission. Over 10.5 cars, it was 30%. And then over 15.5, you got 35%. Now, all cars, you may not necessarily make a lot of gross, so you would have a mini. So the mini would be, I think it was like $200 or $300. So you wanted to make your gross because that's where your money was. But yeah, that was kind of the structure. Now I know, again, every car lot's different. I think some car lots even are kind of like salary based. Mm-hmm. But so there's that. That's kind of what got me into the sales side of things. And then from there, all my friends are at college, living the university life, and I'm burning up on asphalt, slinging cars throughout the summer. So I feel like I got a little burned out on it. I did it for about 4 years. And then from there, I really just took about like 4 months off work because I was living with my dad. I was paying him $200 a month, right? So I had some money saved up because I didn't really have any bills. And I went in to get on my own cell phone plan at AT&T, and that's what led me into my next career, I guess you could say. I got hired on at AT&T, an authorized retailer, and from there, I worked there for 4 years. I managed the Summit location right over there. It was Cheesecake Factory, or not Cheesecake Factory, it was California Pizza Kitchen. There's a new restaurant. It just opened up. I don't know what the name of it is, but I did that for 4 years. Started kind of getting burned out on that, and good old Don Bonner used to come into the AT&T store because I had recruited his godson, which I know you don't know Don Bonner, but he's an agent at the office.
Legend.
Yeah, good guy, good
awesome.
guy. And he would come in all the time, and he was, man, you need to get in real estate. You need to get in real estate. Well, things started getting a little shaky at AT&T, and lo and behold, I said, okay, let's do it. So worked on getting my real estate license, got licensed in 2018, and then I guess the rest is history. That's how the real estate door was opened, and haven't really looked back since.
Was the AT&T job, was it just like a salary job, or was it kind of commission based, or?
So you got all right. I worked at an authorized retailer. It's the largest authorized retailer in the U.S. So it's Prime Communication. So I can't speak for all of AT&T because there's corporate, which is you are working directly for AT&T, and there's authorized retailers. So a lot of the stores, if you'll look, it'll say corporate or it'll say authorized retailer,
Okay.
and that's how you can differentiate between the two. So for me, it was hourly plus commission. So you
Okay.
got paid X plus commission. And then when you moved up to assistant manager, you would get paid a little bit more hourly plus commission. And then store manager, it was commission plus bonuses. Or I'm sorry, it was hourly plus bonuses. So I'd get paid X per hour. And then if my store and my reps hit metrics, then at that point in time, I would get a bonus for A, B, C, D, whatever
Okay.
those may be.
So coming into real estate, you weren't like, hey, I'm coming from a salaried 9 to 5 and just made this crazy massive jump, because you had 4 years of commission based selling cars, 4 more years of somewhat of a commission sales role at AT&T. So so making that jump, there was some I guess relatedness between the two as far as like a mindset of, hey, I eat what I kill. To an extent, is that right?
Yeah, no, I think that's well said, but it's still scary. And
Yeah.
the biggest difference is, in my opinion, which I didn't sell cars for 30 years. I didn't work for AT&T for 30 years. In those industries, maybe not so much with the car lot, but to a certain extent, yes, clients come to you. I'm at a location that's being marketed. It has whatever name at the top, and people say, if you want this type of car, or maybe even a pre-owned car, stop there. So for me, clients would come in, I would work them, and then from there, I'd sell them whatnot, and that's how I made a living. With real estate,
You're kind of having to create your own brand almost.
I was about to say that. You're creating your own brand, and, it went through my mind, which we'll talk about this in a moment, even with the investing. It was kind of scary, like, will people use me as a real estate agent? Can I do this? I think there's just a lot of, it's just fear, honestly. I think what it boils down to is a lot of fear, and you just got to, I guess, throw yourself in the deep end, and you're either going to sink or swim. And
So was Don Bonner a part of ARC?
Don Bonner is a part of ARC. He was
Okay.
he basically recruited me. And to be honest with you, when I joined ARC, which I'm glad that I did, ARC's a great company. I never interviewed with another company, and to be honest with you, I didn't join ARC for ARC. I joined ARC for Don Bonner because I think it's important when you're getting your real estate license. Yes, you do want to work for a good company, but you need someone that's going to help groom you that first year, I'd say. It is very important because you're going to have a lot of questions. Even if you've been in sales, there's a lot of things that you're going to learn. I mean, I think that's with any industry or career. So I joined because I knew that he would hold my hand and kind of help me get my career started, and he did that. And so forever grateful to old DB.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Well, and that's so true getting into real estate. So it's important. Obviously, you got to get your license and learn how to not to get sued or learn the real estate law, and that's going through the course. But it's a whole nother level to go in, because a lot of companies, you get your license, you sign up under a broker, and they're like, all right, go sell.
Good luck.
Yeah, and it's like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I know what to do from an Alabama state law standpoint, but I have no idea how to sell a piece of real estate or do the math on helping people. And so having that training program at ARC is just so valuable.
I think I've seen one of your podcast or one of the videos that y'all put together, and you mentioned that you get your real estate license, and while it teaches you the Alabama state law and the do's and do nots, it absolutely has nothing to do with how to sell a house, how to get clientele, how to build a business, how to build a brand. It doesn't teach you any of that. So basically what you just said, and back to what I was saying, it's very important to join a company, but then join someone that's going to help groom you, because if not, you're just kind of thrown out to the wolves, and like you said, good luck. Hope you make it.
Well, that was a question that I had early on first meeting Blake. It's a running joke that I've said multiple times on different episodes. There was a billboard next to my house over in the Avondale area, and it was advertising something like, get your real estate license in 2 weeks online from home. And I'm just like, it has to be a little more complicated than that. Surely it's not that easy. And so I've learned a lot, talking with Blake.
Yeah. Well, the scary thing is, it is that easy to become a licensed agent to sell. But that doesn't mean you know what you're doing.
But doesn't know what,
Right.
Yeah, and I've heard, I think Janet Ham, which she works at ARC, but then I think she may even be on staff, kind of, sort of, with the bar. I'm not really too sure. Don't hold me to that. But I believe that she said that they're working on making it a little bit more difficult to get your license. I don't necessarily say that. I don't think they're going into it saying, hey, we don't want people to become real estate agents. We just want people to maybe go through a little bit more training, I suppose. I don't know a lot about that. That's what I've heard.
Well, there needs to be more barriers of entry. It needs to be more expensive because it's, what is it, $2,500, $3,000
Say
at
roughly,
most,
depending on the office, because you get office fees and stuff.
So it's that, and then again a 2-week course, 3-week course. It's like the barrier to entry is so small compared to other industries, right? Think of other careers. It's just so.
One question I have that just kind of popped up talking about this: have you guys seen any issues where a real estate agent, you hear through the grapevine that maybe gets in hot water because they don't know what they're doing, or maybe clients who kind of get a bad end of a deal because they don't know what they're doing, or they have an agent that's new to it that didn't really get the formal training that you guys had? Have you guys seen anything like that?
Hot water, not as much, not like in trouble. More so, it's they do such a bad job of representing their client just from lack of experience, and so their client gets a terrible deal. And so, like, our job is to represent our client to the best of our ability, and so if there's an opportunity.
So you're exploiting the people.
I don't want to say take advantage. I was like hesitating, but I mean it is, because like if we're doing a deal together, Christian's brand new, or if I'm brand new and he's been in the industry 10 years, and I'm like, I don't know, Christian, like here's what we think, and Christian's like, okay, well here's what's best for my client, so this is what I'm going to push and and advocate for, and if I have no idea that that's not good for my client, then my client's getting a terrible deal on that. Yeah. And so that's where that education piece and the training piece and either joining a team or having a mentor like Don Bonner for Christian is so important, so you can represent your client to the best of your ability.
Yeah, I'd say the same. Like, I don't know that I've necessarily met realtors that have gotten themselves in hot water, but I have worked deals with realtors that were really nice. Now that the time has passed, they're doing a really good job for themselves, but they had no clue. Like, I was essentially walking them through how to make changes to a contract and get the contract to closing. So while they were really nice people and I enjoyed working with them, you could tell it was their first deal.
You could spot it a mile away.
They had no guidance, because they would ask questions that your normal agent probably wouldn't ask. But I was okay. I was okay with that, because I thought to myself, like, I was there at one point in time, so why would I not want to help out? Which I think Blake does a good job. I know that we're going to kind of chat about investing, but I feel like there's two type of people out there. There's people that they learn something to be successful in that whatever area that is, whether it's real estate, their career, investing, and then if you were to try to get help from them, they kind of want all their information. They don't want to give that out.
Well, I worked hard for this information. I'm just going to give it away.
Them, right? And they don't really want to help you. I mean, it's not that they're not good people. They just want it for themselves.
Tricks of the trade, career.
And then you have others to where they're successful and they actually want to see you be successful as well. So there's been many times, because it took a while before I actually purchased my first property, that I've called Blake, and he was always willing to meet or have a conversation on what he thought would be a good start for me. So I definitely think that's a great thing. So with that being said, if you're looking to getting to investing, although I would love to help, Blake's a great person to reach out to, because I called a lot and he was always an open book, which there is not a lot of people like that. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, here's $20.
Appreciate that.
Before we get out, I do want to talk about your investing journey and where you're at. But before we do, talk about your sales career. How long have you been in it? How old are you? Where are you at now? Where's your area of focus, if you have one?
Yeah. So I guess we'll start off. So I'll be 32 this year. I've been an agent since 2018. I got my broker's license last year. As far as areas, I feel like I do a lot like in the Moody Leeds area, just because I'm from the Moody Leeds area. So I know, since I graduated from there, I just know more people naturally from that area. However, I don't necessarily bound myself just to the Moody Leeds area. I would say that I'll probably go about an hour any direction of Birmingham. So I'll help whomever. I've sold homes in Mountain Brook. I've sold homes in Hoover, Calera, Montevallo. I've went the furthest. Went up to Boaz. Sold a house to a lady in Boaz. She bought it. I got her through a Zillow lead. She purchased the home, never had seen it. For the first time that her or myself had seen the property in person was when after we closed, she flew in and we met at the house. I was new to real estate, and I was like, please God, like
I
this
hope she
house.
likes it.
Don't let it be like a
I
terrible.
get there, it's not very desirable, and she gets there with all her family, and she's like, "Oh my God, I love it," and I'm like, oh. So it was
that would be a little
interesting.
nerve wracking. Yeah.
But yeah, so from there, I think each year I've went up in business. I think timing helped out, right? I got my license in 2018. I worked really hard. 2018, 2019 was well for me, and
Rookie of the year, right?
rookie of the year,
Yeah.
right?
In the company.
And then
Really?
2020 or 2020, COVID hit, and everyone was like, "What's going to happen?" Well, I can tell you what happened. It went up real fast. So to be fair, I think that you could tell who the people that were working hard because their business really took off. But in those years, I don't think it really mattered who you were. You were probably selling some homes. So I think now, moving forward, you're really going to see who's in this for the long haul, and who's door openers. Who are the agents that just know how to open doors, and who are the agents that actually know how to negotiate and make their contract more appealing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was a little bit of a kind of a overview of where I'm at, whatnot.
Yeah. Do you have in the next year to 3 year kind of like a realtor plan or goals for your business, or is it, hey, I love where I'm at and we're just keep?
No, yes, I definitely want to scale. So again, who did I call about this? Mr. Blake Shultz. So I started doing research like on YouTube, right? And just different videos, and everybody that I would find was being coached, and who they were being coached by was being coached, and who that coach, they were being coached. So it seemed like everyone that had really scaled their business had a coach who had a coach who had a coach who was a part of a bunch of coaches. So I know, Blake, you've had a few coaches, and I think we met at Taco Mama in Hoover 2 months ago. So I just signed up for Tom Ferry's coaching. They have a core, and then they have a elite, and really the main differences are, do you want to be coached every week, or do you want to be coached every other week? So with that, there's stages 1 through 8. I'm a stage 3 according to them, and essentially I think as you stage up, probably the things that they try to implement in your business change as you scale and grow. So yeah, I would like to I'd like to put a team together and continue to sell. Obviously I want to sell more real estate, but I'd like to maybe get a buyer's agent, a handful of buyer's agent, transaction coordinator, assistant, just to where I just have more time. I want to continue to grow, but I also want to see others grow. And I think that, at some point in time, I can't, I may say, hey, I'd like for other people to do all the showing of the homes and whatnot. It gives me time to maybe do some other things and back end things, maybe scale the business from a different side of things, I guess you could say.
So it's hard to grow on that scale, on that level, without having, like what Blake has, it's kind of like a team in place to kind of help you. Because obviously, if you got 10 showings in a day, that's great, but that's a lot of running around if you don't have some help.
You're limited. Okay, let's say you have 10 showings a day, or in that day. Outside of the showings, you're probably not going to be able to get a whole lot done. You may be able to make some calls in between the showings. If you had someone at the office that's pumping out calls to your database or to get additional showings or additional clients, that's what you really need. Because I think what I found is, especially over the last couple of years, let's say you get really busy, right? Well, you get busy and you kind of stop doing the things that you were doing to get really busy, and then you get those clients under contract or whatnot, and then you get to a point to where it's like, I was busy, now I'm not busy, and then you're trying to play catch up to kind of get back on the wave to get busy again. So I think the goal for me would be grow a team to where, you'll always have ups and downs, but the goal would be to not have drastic dips, right? Maybe kind of like a Sea-Doo. We're like this instead of just drastically dropping down, if that makes sense.
Well, and you've done a really good job of this, but I feel like it starts with a mindset shift, and we've talked about it before, but going back to Dan Sullivan, Ben Hardy's book, Who Not How. And so it's the mindset of, instead of saying, how can I take care of my transactions and my calls and my showings and my listings, it's who can I get to take care of the lower dollar producing activities so I can stay in the high level, right?
I agree.
And I think you've done a good job, especially in the past year, of recognizing that and saying, okay, I got to find some who's in my life. Right?
Yeah, I think delegating is pretty important. So I'm not exactly where I want to be. I don't know that I'll ever be where I want to be. I think you should always be striving to grow and expand and scale and get, I guess, basically be a better version of yourself. But I'm in the process, one step at a time. So I'm excited to see what the future holds. But yes, I do think that as soon as I feel like you need to always be thinking ahead. Like, don't get in a situation to where you're in a really bad position and you're trying to change a bunch of things. Like, maybe be proactive and go ahead and always be evolving to where you're growing as the industry changes, compared to being like, oh Lord, I'm in a really bad position. Like, what am I going to do?
And I know, to speak to the delegating and growing a team and the who, not how aspect, it's hard to do, especially when you've probably been doing things your own way for so long. I know myself personally, and I think Blake can speak to this too. You want to be in control of everything. Yeah. It's like, well, I can do it better than me trying to teach somebody else to do this. Like, I'll just do it. And
no one can do it as good as me.
You want to do everything. Yeah.
So. That is true, but again, I think yeah, no one's going to call me. They're going to call Blake because they're like, "Hey,
we'll put your number up."
How much is he paying you?
No, seriously though. Like, I think you said when you're looking to bring someone on, you do like a disc profile. Mm-hmm. While you may be very good in one area, to think that you're the best in all areas, that's probably not an accurate statement. So while I may be good social skills and building rapport, maybe I'm not good at emailing and having a real tight schedule. To be honest, I'm not the greatest at that. So if I could find someone, an assistant, that could do those things for me, that would free up my time to be able to do what I'm really good at. But I do think you're correct with that, with the whole control, because at the end of the day, if I give up control and someone messes something up, it doesn't really come back on them. It does, but the client doesn't say anything.
It's your responsibility.
It's my responsibility because I'm the team leader or the owner of this company. So I think it's important to vet who's going to be on your team, and then you can't expect anyone just to naturally be know exactly what you want. Set expectations, and then I would pour into them as much as you possibly can, because if you set proper expectations and coach them up, then from there, I think that they can take it from there and make you happy and help you grow.
And at the end of the day, no one's perfect. I mean, we make mistakes all the time, and it's at the end of the day, it's how you handle that and how you approach it. And kind of going back to that extreme ownership book.
Dude, I was about to quote that.
Yeah,
we've been reading that book. Yeah,
that's on me. So like, we had something mess up last week in a transaction, whatever, and the other agent reached out, and I was like, I've got to own that, right? It was not my physical sitting down that made the mistake, but that's on my watch. Like, I take full responsibility for that, and so it's like a teaching moment of, okay, how can we avoid this for the future? So I think it's training and setting expectations on the front end, but also how you follow through with those things and how you approach those issues and mistakes is like another huge piece of that.
I agree. What's the book that we just said? What is it?
It's Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. I don't know how you say his last name.
Extreme Ownership.
It basically is like, everything that goes wrong in my life is my fault. So instead of like external blames and just like, oh, that's someone else's fault, I'm not going to, just take full responsibility for everything.
Right.
And then it's a cool like mental thing that happens, because it's like, okay, now there's no one to blame. So there's no, and how you approach it, there's no sulking. It's my responsibility. How am I going to either avoid that situation next time or fix it?
Right.
And it's written by two Navy SEALs who were fought in Ramadi, and has really cool stories intertwined with how to apply that to business principles. And it's a really good book.
I have to buy it off Amazon.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I like it.
Well, we've talked a lot about the sales side. So walk us through your investing journey. What does it look like now? Where are you going, and what the goal for it is?
Yeah. So I think fear kind of took place a little bit at the beginning. I wanted to do things. I didn't have the information. I didn't educate myself. I said that I wanted to do something, but then I really didn't take action on it at first, right? So it was a lot of like, I want to do this, but I never would do it. And then I'd say, well, why didn't I do this? Well, I didn't really take any action. So I started reading books, started watching podcasts, like Bigger Pockets. I think that's a really good podcast to listen to, because you hear what other people, some of their failures and successes, and then you can hopefully try to take some things that they're offering and then implement it into your own life to prevent yourself from making some of those big mistakes. But I think really it was in the last 6 months. I purchased Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I think is a very elementary book, but I think there's some really good foundations in that book that kind of helped me. And it really, like, I read it so much. Even my wife was like, we'd look at something, she'd be like, well, that's not an asset, that's a liability. It was almost like a joke. It's
She's on
asset,
board.
liability. And then from there, because I always had the mindset like, hey, I want to save up as much money as I can and have it in the bank. While I think that it's probably important to have some money in the bank, but just allowing it to sit there and then the bank uses it and loans it out to anybody else that makes money off your money, I think it's better put to use in other areas maybe. So her and I had a conversation. I said, every year I look back and I say, prices have went up. Why didn't I buy then? I should have bought then, and we would have X amount of equity. So I just started making a little post on Facebook saying, hey, looking to buy a home. If you know of anybody that has a distressed property, let me know. Looking for investments. I never said like, hey, this is my first property. I just said, hey, we buy properties.
Fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it, right? So I made a post. About a week later, a couple people would send me deals and stuff through Facebook. I'd look into it. I have found that you probably need to analyze several deals before one actually works. So just because you get one, you look at it and it doesn't work, that's okay. Move on to the next one. Don't force the situation, right?
This is it. I have to make this work. This is my golden ticket.
I don't know the statistic, but I would say that you're going to look through a handful before one really makes sense. And especially with it being your first one, if it is going to be your first one, I would definitely cross your T's and dot your I's, because if you really mess up on the first one, it could lead you to not want to do it anymore. But with that being said, I made a post on Facebook. Jan Cromer at the office, she said, hey, are you looking to buy a house? And I said, yes, ma'am. She said, well, I have one in Leeds, right where I live. And I was like, oh, this might be perfect. I live in Leeds. It's right down the road from me. She told me the address. I went by, looked at it. I think she said they wanted, it was a 3-2 basement home in Cahaba Hills in Leeds, Alabama, which is a pretty desirable neighborhood in Leeds. And I think they wanted like 200. And I thought to myself, not a chance. There's no way I can pay this. So I went, I looked at it. My wife completely was like, I don't think this is a good idea. So about a week or so went by, and I just kept going back to it. And I was like, I think this would be a good option for us. Of course, we'd have to buy it at the right price, right? So, wife was totally against it. At first, I continued to run numbers. It kept coming back to my mind. I was like, I think that this property may be a good option for our first flip rental. I didn't even really know what I wanted to do.
I was about to say, did you know when you bought, were you going to flip it and sell it, or?
So my goal was to build a portfolio of rentals to where I have passive income. But on this particular property, I looked at it and I said, maybe this would be a good flip. I'd make some money off of it. And then that would help me. I'd take the proceeds from that particular property, and then that would help me on my next property.
Did you have any kind of background in, if you want to do a flip, are you going to do the work, or are you going to contract that out?
When we bought the house that we live in, the goal for that was to be a flip. So I met a lot of subcontractors that did the work for me, and then. So basically, I just went back to them when I purchased this house to get quotes and things of that nature. So while I can do like punch list items, some of the bigger items, I kind of just delegate.
So you more act like a general contractor. And
because in my mind, I really want to continue focus on scaling my real estate business, right? So I don't want to get so tied up in doing all this stuff to save a little bit of money that I'm really missing out on a lot of money on the sales side of things. So I just, I paid other people to do it, but I bought it. It was going to be a flip. We were finishing up, we did flooring, paint, gutted the bathrooms, did some yard work, it was nothing crazy. But we renovated it, made it look nice. And here we are again. I called Blake and I was like, hey man, what do you think? Should I flip this or should I buy it and hold it? And I think that you encouraged me to at least try to rent it for a year. And I think one, I could get a little bit of a taste of what it would be like to rent a property. Sure. And then two, I want to say that you go from short-term capital gains to long-term capital gains, meaning you save a little bit on your taxes after you've owned it for a year.
Yeah, and the biggest thing was executing a 1031 exchange when you're done. So you had that. The intent of this is to rent this property, and then do it for a year and then say, I can continue renting it or I can sell it and then defer those taxes by rolling it into a new one.
Right,
And
right. So, but after the conversation, we ran the numbers, and he was like, yeah, you'll make a little bit of money, but it may be worth like actually holding on to it. And I said, all right, well, let's try that. So I bought it on an interest-only loan, renovated it with my own money, and then the goal is to do a cash-out refinance. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to refinance the property, get a 15 to 30-year mortgage, and then all the money, so my down payment money and all the money that I put in it to renovate it, I get all that money back. So I'm essentially in the home for zero money out of pocket once I do this. And then, of course, we have a renter in place. So based off the interest rate that I calculated, I'll be about $1,500 a month on mortgage. And I just leased it out a couple days ago for $2,000 a month. So I got a $2,000 deposit, security deposit, and $2,000 a month for a 12-month lease. So cash flowing about $500, not awesome. Calculating any of the, out of that $500, some of it's going to go into an account to build up to buy the next property. Some of it's going to go into an account to be prepared when an HVAC goes out, roof starts leaking, whatever repair may be needed. So that's kind of like a quick little overview of what we did with that property. And the good thing is I bird it, so I got all the money back out of it. So I only have so much money. I don't have millions of dollars sitting around that I can just play with. So my strategy currently is to bird properties, buy them, renovate them, get all my money back out of them, right? And then use that same money to do the next one and the third one. I will say this though, as soon as I closed on that property, I felt good. I said, I did this. We're about to do this. But the next thought that came to my mind was, man, would it be nice to have 4 tenants under one roof instead of one tenant? So my next thing, I was like,
the stack.
I would like a multifamily.
Yeah.
That was literally the first thing that came to my mind. I told my wife that, and she was like, babe, can we finish this one first? And then
she's like, we're still at closing.
You hadn't even signed the contract yet.
You're
like,
still at closing.
I'm going to buy an apartment complex.
Yeah. So word of advice, though, if you're looking to invest on a property, talk to someone that currently invests in properties, right? There's a lot of opinions, and if you listen to negative opinions, then you're probably going to have a negative outlook on that. But if you talk to someone that's successful, then you probably will have a positive outlook on investing. And you just have to take that jump. Now, get your information, educate yourself, but you have to make that first jump. And I think after you do it, you're going to sit there and think to yourself, I can do this. You don't have to be a multimillionaire to invest in properties. Anyone can do it. You just have to take the right steps to do it. You are what you put yourself around. So if you surround yourself with others that are doing things of this nature, chances are you're probably going to end up doing it as well.
Well, I want to talk about that BRRRR strategy because you're executing it perfectly. But you buy, you renovate, refinance, rent, repeat.
Yeah, that was a term I wasn't familiar with.
Yeah,
so I'm glad you defined that.
So you made the comment, all right, we're going to refinance, pull all our cash out, so we'll be cash in at zero, so our cash on cash return's infinite, essentially.
Right.
And that's not just an automatic, you can refinance and go, but you're able to do that, I'm assuming, because you added more value through the renovation than the property, or less value than the property is worth. So the property is worth a good bit more now because you added value through that renovation.
Yeah, so basically, real quick, we bought the property at $152,250. Put about $30,000 into it, so I'm in at about $180,000 ish, right around there. And I'm calculating based off comps that the home's probably worth about $250,000. I'm not a lender, but to my knowledge, when you do your cash out refinance, you can pull 75 to 80% of the value, right? So if it's worth $250,000, whatever 80% of that $250,000 is, I can get that back out on a loan.
So it's about like 190.
190-ish, right?
And you're all in at 182.
Yeah. So I could make extra $7,500, or I could just pull out my 180 to get my money back, and then use that towards the next property.
Dude, and that's one of the biggest vehicles that someone could use who, like you said, not sitting on $1 million or hundreds of thousands of dollars is. All you got to have is, it took some cash.
Yes.
Tens of thousands, 40 or 50,000. You don't have to say how much you spent, but you've got to have kind of a nest egg up front, but then you're able to recycle that. And there's a lot of people who will say, well, what if you can't pull all your cash out? Okay. You still have a cash flowing property, and if you got to leave $20,000 in there, okay, your cash on cash return isn't as sexy, but you're still cash flowing. You still have a great rental property.
Cash flowing, one. But then the other side of things, appreciation. You're making money monthly, Someone else is paying your mortgage for you. But then on top of that, if you hold on to that property and you bought in a good area, your appreciation is going up. So you're making money on a monthly basis. But then if you were to sell,
Gaining equity.
Exactly. So,
And appreciating the asset on your taxes.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's just a win-win, win-win-win.
Yeah, so I do think you have to do a little bit more digging when you do the BRRRR. You have to really make sure. That's why you crunch the numbers up front. Do your due diligence.
How many properties do you think you looked at before you found this?
On that one, I think I probably only looked at maybe like 5 or 6. It just
Okay.
kind of fell in my lap. All right, but now that we're finished with that one, I am looking for the next property. I would prefer a multifamily, but
Well, and I'm going to stop because you just said it fell in your lap, but that's, we'll get comments, oh, you're lucky you found all this.
Yeah.
You've built a realtor network, which I think having a license and being successful as an agent gives you an advantage to someone just coming off the street trying to invest, but also
Right.
you put it out there. You put it on social media, you put it in our office saying, hey, this is what I'm looking for. So you were proactive. So
I would agree. I agree with
so
that.
fell in your lap is a loose term. I wanted to call you
appreciate
out because people just say, oh, you got lucky. Right. And I hear that a lot on feedback when we do
Uncle
these.
Bob came knocking on your door. I got the golden opportunity for you.
I hear that feedback a lot. I'm like, well, yes, luck was involved, but also like all the work that I put in for the past 10 years or 5 years on building the foundation is what you're ignoring. And so I don't want to ignore all the work that you've put into that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that me putting it out there and then having networking and having relationships with other agents is why that led into to her saying, hey, well, let me tell Christian about this. So now that I've done it, she was happy. Her clients were happy. So I think if she got another one, she'd probably say, what worked out on the last one with Christian, why not run it by him this time?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's
Building that network.
and how you conduct your business, right?
Yeah.
Agents like you. They like to work with you. And so they'll bring you deals.
Right, absolutely. If I want to get to 100, where does it start? It starts with 1.
That's right.
So I've knocked out the 1, and hopefully y'all invite me back on here in a few months, and I say, hey, well, I'm working
10,
on
baby.
I'm at
Yeah.
10, baby. Let's go.
That's right. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's really cool. And I think that's a really good inspiration to hear somebody who's kind of just getting started with your first property. I mean, when, I was talking to Blake, and it sounded like he owned half of Birmingham already. So I was like, oh, God, man, there's just no way I'll ever be able to do that. But, yeah, that's really cool to kind of hear how you got started, especially in the investing side. So.
Yeah.
Well,
one at a time.
You can do it, and you have someone that I think is a great resource that wants to see you grow as well. So,
Well, one of our goals throughout this year is Alex getting into his first property.
Yes,
So,
which is yet to happen, but
it's coming.
I'm like you, man. I
Laying the
got the
foundation.
fear, and I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even have a real estate background. I don't know anything about this world other than what I've learned through Blake and through this podcast and talking with him.
If it makes you
So
feel
I'm
better,
super green for anybody out there listening.
if it makes you feel better, Blake and I had conversations for, I would say, probably 2 years. He literally said, listen to all the Bigger Pockets podcast. Once you catch up to current, call me back, and then we'll work a deal together.
Yeah.
While we haven't worked a deal together, educating myself and getting the information is what helped me make that first purchase. So it is scary. It took me 2 years, but I will say if I could go back 2 years ago, right now I feel like I should be at 15, 20 properties.
Oh, wow.
But I think it's just the mindset. You can do this. You don't have to be a multimillionaire. Get after it. Surround yourself with like-minded people that want to succeed and want to see you succeed. And
See,
it'll
I'm
happen.
just on the cusp of that. See, where you were,
there.
6 months ago, that's where I'm at. I was just like, I don't know about this.
So
man."
when you come back on, you're at 20 properties. He's going to be at 1+, and
Half a
and our
property.
conversation is going to be like, oh, well, how's your rental? How's your rental?
Yeah. So
We'll see.
you can do it.
so.
I have faith in you.
Well, it's been really cool talking with you and getting
Yeah.
to meet you, and I appreciate you coming on. And
Absolutely.
yeah, man, it's awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for your time.
Thank y'all for having me.